Hello, today I'm going to be describing your weekly update memo assignments. This is the basic assignment sheet that is posted on Moodle. As you can see, this takes the normal memo format and gets you to explain some information about your project each week. The overall big point of this is for me to make sure that you are making steady progress each week. It also brings up an opportunity for you to discuss with me and with your other teammates problems that you might be having with a client, problems you might be having with each other. And so it gives an opportunity to bring those to the surface and so we can address them instead of just letting them kind of fester throughout the semester until, it gets time to do your final presentation and you have all these problems that you never addressed. So as you can see, we'll go over the basic parts of the memo in general and kind of specifically what I'm looking for in regard to this assignment. At the top, you've got basic information about who the memo's to, the date, etc. Uh, and then looking down at the rest of the memo, you have all these paragraphs, right? And what's at the top of every paragraph? Action headers. And you also have a brief introduction and conclusion that serve as an executive summary for the memo. And we'll be going over each of those sections in detail. So we'll start out by talking about the top part of the memo. Top part of the memo, very formulaic, very standard. You've got your two lines, so you want to write who is this memo to. In this case, this can be your course instructor. In the from line, be sure to list every member of your team. Date is the date. And then you have the subject line. And remember, the subject line is an action header. The subject line should really be summarizing your entire memo in a single sentence. If someone is only going to read the subject line of your memo, what is the one sentence you want to walk away with? And in regard to the weekly updates, this is basically going to be, what have you accomplished in your project? What are you struggling with your project? Give me the status of your project in a single sentence, and that will be your subject line. The next thing we'll talk about is the introduction. The introduction is really just a brief summary of how your project is going. Now, remember, introductions, quit thinking of them as introductions and start thinking of them as executive summaries. An introduction should encapsulate the main points of your memo. And this memo is about how your team is doing, how your relationship with your client is going, and what you've accomplished so far in regard to your project. So give me a brief snapshot about how all that's going. Ideally, I should be able to read just your introduction and through that get all of the important information about your project status. So that's the introduction. The next thing we're going to talk about is each of these body paragraphs here, and I'll go through them one by one. The first body paragraph is about communication with your client. And I really want to know, did you talk to your client this week? And you should talk to your client every week. So I want to know how you did that. Was it an in-person meeting? Was it email? Was it phone call? Whatever. Did your client respond? I've had groups in the past when I was a more naive instructor who would email their client and their client would never email back and they were like, oh sweet, we don't have to do anything. And I wouldn't realize for a few weeks that they had no contact with their client. That is bad. It is up to you to reach out and make contact with your client. If they don't respond to your email, then you give them a phone call. They don't respond to your phone call, go to their office, whatever it is. But it is up to you to make contact. And I want to know, did you have contact with your client this week? How did you communicate with them? Which of your group members communicated with them? So be sure and put that into this paragraph. What's at the top of this paragraph? It is an action header. That should be the top of every paragraph, needs to be an action header. Summarize your communication with your client in a single sentence. That's your action header. The next body paragraph deals with your relationship with your client. Basically, I want to know what's going well and what difficulties are you having. So whether you have a great supervisor or a less great supervisor, you probably have both positive and negative interactions with them. Tell me about those. What is going well with your client? And then also, what difficulties are you having? I find that students don't like to talk about difficulties because they're embarrassed, they're worried that it's their fault, they think that I'm going to get mad at them and get them in trouble because they're having trouble with their clients. But that's not the case at all. Like, I am here to help you, to facilitate your performance, to make you successful as a team. So I want to know what you're struggling with so that those topics are out in the open. We can talk about them, we can address them, we can think about ways together to improve your interactions with your client. So some things that students tend to have trouble with their clients is maybe they're non-responsive, so they're not answering your emails, they're not getting back to your phone from your phone calls. What do you do? Maybe they don't give you enough goal. They don't give you clear enough goals. They don't give you direction, and so you don't know what to do. Or maybe they give you goals and then they keep changing them week to week. And what do you do there? Maybe they're not happy with your work and you don't know how to make it better. You don't know what they want. I want to hear these things. And of course, at the top of the paragraph is an action header, one sentence that sums up your relationship with your client. The next body paragraph is about your relationship with your group. So what is going well in the group in regard to personal dynamics, and what challenges are you facing? So just like students like to kind of put on this good face about the relationship with their clients, they also like to put on a good face about the relationship with each other. And I've been working with student groups enough to know that there's almost always conflict in groups. And that's okay. This course is really about how do you deal with that conflict in a healthy, productive way. So this is an opportunity not just to communicate to me what kind of troubles you're having, but this is also an opportunity for you guys as a team to talk about what your struggles are. So issues that are really common in this area are maybe some students aren't doing the work they're supposed to be doing, or maybe the quality of their work is very low. Maybe students aren't responding to team emails. Maybe they're not coming to meetings. What is it? What are you struggling with as a group? And let's bring this out into the open so that we can talk about it and we can figure out some strategies so that everyone feels respected and productive. The next paragraph is, I want to know kind of brass tacks, what did you accomplish last week? Tell me in a concrete way, what did you accomplish? And this is maybe 3 to 5, depending on your team, depending on the week. Some weeks you're going to be really productive. Other weeks you might just have 1 or 2 big tasks. But tell me what it is. What did you accomplish last week? It is really, we're in such a compressed time during this course that it's really important that you are making progress week to week, that every week you're moving the ball forward in some way. So I want to know, how'd you move the ball forward? What did you accomplish? Tell me in very specific, concrete terms. The next body paragraph is what you're going to accomplish next week. What are 3 to 5 things that you hope to accomplish next week? Again, being very specific and concrete. What is the action header for this paragraph? It is, what's your big goal for next week? If you had to really encapsulate what you're hoping to accomplish next week in one sentence, what would that sentence be? So we've talked about all the different parts of the memo. The last part is the conclusion. Conclusion is basically just a reiteration of your introduction. Remember, this is an executive summary. This is the 3 to 5 sentence summary of how is your relationship with your client? How's your relationship with your teammates? What have you accomplished? What are you going to accomplish? Tell me that in your introduction and conclusion, where in a very concise way, where I can just read your intro, read your conclusion, and get all of the important information, all of the main messages from the rest of your memo. Lastly, just some general comments. Be sure to follow the correct memo template. So it's really important that your documents look professional, look like something that you would see in a business environment. So be sure to follow the template. Make sure that it's clearly written and easy to understand. You have groups with 3 or 4 or even 5 students in it sometimes, so everything that you turn in for this course should be proofread, and you should be getting feedback from your teammates about this, because it's not my job to be your copy editor. It's not my job to be your proofreader. You guys should be holding each other to those high standards. And along with that is make sure that it's free of typos and punctuation errors. And that is what I expect for the weekly update memos. Thank you for listening.